I'm John Hanna for CDTV.net in New York, and we have Dennis Gibb, the president of Sweetwater Investments, joining us from Seattle this morning. Thank you, sir.
Hi, how are you?
Great. And yourself?
I'm terrific.
Okay, sir, that's great. Let's talk about something that's on the minds of of the consumers and the economies right now, which is the consumer confidence. Um, Tell us about what your take about the consumer confidence.
Well, I think that we're seeing a very slow and very difficult recovery, which would be altogether normal given the trauma that the system has sustained in the last couple of years. Consumer confidence, the average consumer has very little reason to feel confident right now. They've been faced with higher gasoline prices. They've been faced with now rising rents, declining house prices, job uncertainty. So they have very little reason to feel confident about much of anything right now. But we are starting to see some hopeful signs around the edges that people are starting to feel better about what's going on.
Now, with regards to the consumer confidence, on that note, even though we have this kind of economic situation right now in the U.S. and even worldwide, the U.S. still printing more millionaires. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah, we are creating. I mean, one of the things that's amazing about the United States and has been amazing about this country for its entire life is our ability to rebound and our ability to create new wealth. I mean, I live and work less than 5 miles from Microsoft, which during the 1990s was probably the largest legal creator of wealth in this country had ever seen. When I moved to Washington in 1989, there were 2 people in this state who had assets worth more than $1 billion. Now there are 21, and almost all of them are Microsoft related. Including one of the richest men in the world, Bill Gates. So we have the opportunity to do this. Before this, I lived in California. I lived in the Silicon Valley, and I watched during the 1970s and the 1980s as Silicon Valley minted millionaires, a dime a dozen, really. So we have the ability to create people, and great crises always create great opportunity. It's a question of, can you find the opportunity and make the choice, find out where the next thing is going to go.
Okay, the reason why I brought that up because I wanted to see the discrepancy between the printing up new millionaires and the people that's losing their jobs and all that stuff. Now, is this a question of finding the right or retraining yourself in order to get back into the employment lines because of the fact that, like you said, there is opportunity out there, and with consumer confidence, you gotta have a job in order to be confident enough to buy something.
Well, you're 100% right, and I think there is one of the troubling social issues that the United States faces is this disparity between people who never seem to be able to get ahead and the very wealthy. And this is very typical of economic cycles. Long economic cycles is where a class of people will become very wealthy and another class of people will have a hard time getting along. And that's really been the problem over the last few years, the last 10 years or so, is that the middle class has not seen a lot of expansion of their wages and their living standards when you adjust for inflation. And that's one of the reasons that housing got to be such a problem in 2006 and 7 and 8 was because that was the way in which the middle class thought they were going to make their way out of this was by buying and selling houses and making money on real estate. And some of them did. But eventually, all booms must end, and that one ended when it got too crazy. So there is a social issue here to be faced also. But we still are creating lots of rich people, and those rich people apparently will invest, and that's generally what will pull the economy out of its tailspin.
Any other closing statements?
No, I think people need to they need to fight against the constant pessimism that you're getting from the news media and the constant hype that you're getting out there, and look at what you're doing. Get your own balance sheet in order. If everybody in this country got their own balance sheets back in order, then the country's problems would be solved.
Wow, that's a great closing statement. That Dennis Gibb, president of Sweetwater Investments Incorporated, joining us from Seattle, and I'm John Hanna for CityTV.net in New York.